Okay, good evening YouTube. Welcome FPL family to this next episode of FPL Family with me, Lee. This is Sam, and Sam, I've just heard that despite the full-time whistle going, Brighton have just been given an extra penalty. It's now 3-3 at the Amex because apparently you can give whatever you want after the full-time whistle's gone now. And apparently you can kick it at defenders' arms and it can be penalties.
From behind them. You can kick it at a defender's arm from behind him when he's looking the other way!
Oh, guys, this, honestly, I thought
Hi,
last
everyone.
week's... Yeah, hi, everybody.
You can tell I'm in a very...
I thought last
bad
week's stream was out there because we had so many goals last week.
I'm not happy.
I feel like tonight could go off tonight, guys. Honestly, if you'd have been in this room with Sam when that penalty was given at the Spurs Stadium today, it weren't pretty. It was not good. It was not good.
I've actually really hurt my hand. It genuinely...
You punched the door.
I punched the door. Not just any door. I saw it out the front door because I did it in my head. I thought I can't punch a wooden door because I might hurt, damage the door.
So you thought about it and still did it.
So I thought I'll punch the front door, and I didn't punch it, but I did the girly thing. I didn't punch. I slapped it. So I slapped it, and so I've really hurt it. And at one point, I did think it was broken because it was a bit swollen, but it has calmed down now. So I don't think it's broken. But my heart is broken.
It has been a door slapping game week, hasn't it?
I'm just
It's
fuming.
been a door slapping game
Do
week.
you know what? What is the point? What's the point in football? Seriously?
You can't say that.
No,
People
genuinely.
joining the FPL Family stream for a bit of insight, a bit of content. You can't just say, "What's the point?"
What? So if I'm Mourinho next
Do you wanna-
week, no,
right.
I don't want to bring it down
down.
because I'm not. Genuinely, if I'm Mourinho, or in fact any manager, you might as well say to your defenders, "All right, guys, it's all right. Just go out there. Don't jump because your arms might have to come out to balance. So never jump. Keep your arms behind your back.
You've got to jump like a salmon.
Let's handcuff your hands behind your back. That's what we might as well do now with our defenders. We might as well put handcuffs on them. Let them play like that.
Well, as you can tell,
It's
guys,
pointless.
Sam is still a little bit raw.
Raging.
Still a little bit raw about the decision at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Now, if it was just that isolated decision, you would of course be upset. But it's happening every game.
It's just the live
It's
chat.
happening, the
I'm just laughing.
Everyone's just laughing or crying. It's a laughing or crying sort of game week, guys. I have to tell you. But it's happening all the time. It's happening all the time.
It's not even funny because yesterday, if you were a Brighton fan, you're as livid as I am.
Yeah.
I am raging. Brighton fans, equally, you're right to be raging.
Yeah.
Crystal Palace fans, equally right to be raging. Honestly, it is ridiculous. It is 2000. What has become of football?
Well, we are going to discuss all of these things, guys, as we go through the games on tonight's
so
FPL
hot.
Family. It has been a very, very interesting game week, and for one of us, it's been an absolutely appalling game
Have we
week.
got really
FPL
blurry, or
wise.
is that my eyes?
It's your eyes. I think we're okay. We might be a little bit blurry, but we've never been HD here at FPL Family, have we? Let's face it. And
We never will
And to
be.
be honest, I'm not sure the guys really want it. Maybe one day we'll upgrade to a decent camera and be 4K.
I think
but
maybe
right
I'm
now,
just so annoyed, and I've got such a headache that my eyes are blurry. I
maybe your
can't
eyes are a
see
bit
straight.
blurry. It's just been.
I think I saw Souček score a goal before we came in.
I know, which I think could be saving my bacon this game week. And I noticed FPL Geordie and a few others tried to convince the live chat that it was a Jimenez own goal. I'm telling you right now, Sam,
It's a sort
if
of
that Souček goal was given as a Jimenez own goal, I'd have just rage quit. I'd have been gone.
But I mean, that is FPL right now.
It's all over the place. Honestly, I've never known a start to a season like it, and I don't know whether I sit here every season and say that, and it sort of calms down or whatever. But this season, it does feel different. Obviously, with the COVID-19 and the no fans and everything else, it does feel very different. I just can't get my head around it.
Like taking a -4 for a player that don't play.
Yeah, like bringing Podence in, and he just gets a knock in training. But the thing with that is that okay, you do that, but then there wasn't really any news about it during the week, was there? There wasn't anything about Podence might not play.
First I heard of it, Jimenez had benched him in his fantasy team.
Well,
that was how I heard.
Yeah, I mean, the more eagle-eyed among you will say, well, Podence wasn't in some of the training videos, the training photos, which again goes to say, well, if you'd the FPL purists will say, well, should have held your transfer until the death, and you'd have known that he wasn't in training pictures and all the rest of it.
And
but we
normally
didn't
I
do
would
it.
do that. Normally, in any normal part of any season, I would do that, absolutely. You know what I'm like. I never make my transfers ahead of midweek games. But at the moment, the pricing's situation is so ridiculous, and the amount of transfers in and transfers out. Like last night, Werner just randomly drops him. He was nowhere near a price drop, but he's dropped in price. So there's all of that. The algorithm stuff's not working quite right. So and that's always the same pre-season, in early season, and it does settle down.
The thing with Werner though was that he'd lost like 1 million owners up until the Chelsea game, and no everyone who had wildcarded last week, and if you did wildcard last week, get in the chat. Let us know how you feel about having played that wildcard. Now I hope you put a lot of penalty takers in there, that's all I'm going to say. But he lost like 1 million owners, but didn't drop. And then after that game, sort of dropped immediately. So I was like, I wasn't surprised that he dropped. I was just kind of surprised at the time at which he dropped.
And I also think that, FPL is always like this at the beginning of the season because you have all of the players that are casuals, as we call them, players that don't normally play the game, who rage transfer players in and out, taking points hits left, right and centre early on in the week. And of course in a normal season that's okay because we don't have the level of fixture congestion that we do at the moment. Like we're not normally playing League Cup game, the League Cup and all of that this early on. So yes, you're right, and the opponent's thing is annoying, and it sort of is our fault because we both did it for bringing him in before the end of the week. But equally I would have done my transfer before we heard the news that he hadn't trained on Friday. So even if I'd have waited till Thursday night and then lost 0.1 on Max and 0.1 on him, so it would have cost me 0.2 more.
It's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult.
It's hard.
Very, very difficult.
And so it's very difficult, and I think you are going to get games like that where you take a chance and you take, and that's why I guess that taking hits isn't ideal. I mean, it's never ideal, but I think even more so at the moment, it's a bit of a lesson.
There's quite a few people in the chat, Sam, saying that goal has gone down as a Jimenez own goal.
No, it hasn't.
It sounds like it might have gone down to him. I don't know whether you guys are trying to trigger me, and if you are, fair play, because you've done it. A super chat from Tom Nicolaisen. Thank you, Tom, for the super chat. Please make a Norway versus UK legally, and Sam, we will think about that, mate. We'll think about that because we know historically that the Norwegians are very, very good.
I think they're winding you up.
I hope they are. But if they're not, then it just sums up this game week and how it has gone, frankly. Let's say hello to a few people. Let's get into there's our Twitter on the.
They're winding you up.
I'm sure they are.
You've taken it.
They're doing a very good job of it, by the way.
You've bitten.
The way this game week has gone, that is the sort of thing that I'm easily triggered tonight, guys. I'm easily triggered. You've done a good job there, guys. You've done it because I'm easily triggered. Trust me.
What is life right now?
Oh, goodness me. Anyway, that worked. Well done. Let's get into the live chat and say hello to a few people.
We went to watch our little one play football earlier. There was even a penalty in that game. Can't get away from him.
Yeah, that is the one thing. The one good thing, put all of the football and the FPL nonsense, everything to one side. Our little boy Max's team, the London Colney Colts, won their first game of the season. He scored. He got an assist. He got man of the match, 3 bonus points.
And he made a worldie save.
And he played a goal for a bit and did a good save, didn't he? So yes, never mind FPL. Those are the things that matter. And he did absolutely brilliantly.
And there was a penalty in that game.
There was a penalty in that game, yeah.
He's everywhere, I can't get away from him.
And the ref did miss a blatant one at the other end as well, to be fair. It's like, it needed VAR.
and
they need VAR, even at under 7 level.
Went, where's VAR?
He did, yeah, he did. Yeah, right.
Brilliant.
Right, let's see.
Sunday League,
love it. I'd love a bit of Sunday League, absolutely brilliant. Cold as well, wasn't it today? Cold. Proper Sunday League. Few kids hacking each other about.
I've got to get me a coffee mug out and take that. Might have to invest in a chair, I think.
That's it, there we go. Let's say hello to a few people. Lucas Burnett is here, up the Colts, he says.
Down the Colts!
Thanks, Lucas. Appreciate it, mate. Thank you, mate. Stealth Panda, Ken's is in. How are we doing, Ken's? He's in with a super chat. He says, hey guys, what a horror show of a week. Goodness me, Ken's, you are absolutely right. Only did well if you had Penno takers. Ings at 9 with my highest return, says everything. Well, Stealth Panzer, you have had a good one, mate, having him in your team, because frankly, my highest scorer right now, depending on the Souček controversy,
Souček is fine.
Carl Walker-Peters with 6, which is absolutely shocking. Mick Lustmetz is in. How are we doing, Mick? Nice to see you. Joe Finley Babbitt is in and moderating. How are we doing, Joe? Nice to see you. Josh Oram is here. Very nice to see you, Josh. He's in. Alex Young is here. FPL Flynn is in as well. He scored a free kick in his game today.
Oh, nice one.
Well done, Flinny. Good work. Well done.
See? All about Sunday League. I think that's all I'm interested in now.
That's it.
VAR. I'm done with VAR.
Forget the Premier League.
I'll only participate in things where there's no VAR now. So
all about Sunday League football.
All about that.
Yeah. Come on, London Colney Colts. Get involved. FPL tips. Harry is in. Good evening. Hey, Harry. Very nice to see you. Liam Healy is in. Evening, Lee and Sam. He says, my wild card went well. Not.
How many did you get?
How many did you get, Liam? I think you are not alone, mate. I think you are not alone. I think there was a lot of wild carders that, oh man, just it had an absolute stinker.
I said to Lee over dinner tonight, if I'd have wild carded this week, all the players that returned would have been the ones that went.
Well, this is it. Had I played my wild card last week, do I think I would have had a better week?
No, I'd have been worse.
Probably not.
I'd have been worse. 100%.
I think
I'd have been worse.
I don't think I could have been worse, to be honest. But
I'd have been worse because I'd have gone Wolves. They're not doing anything. I'd have got rid of the Southampton boys who saved my game week.
Yeah.
Them 3 Southampton lads. Go on, Saints.
Yeah, they did well for you, didn't they?
Go
Did well
on.
for you. We'll cover that game
Cover
in a
them
bit
in a
more
bit.
detail later on. Joseph Perry is in, only 21 with a wild card. Oh no, Joseph.
Actually, I don't think that's too bad this week.
21.
21.
Could actually be alright. Let's see. J Ray Games. Hey guys, hey J Ray, how are you doing? Iron Man is in, the actual Iron Man. Goodness
Wow.
me.
Hello, Iron Man.
Leicester has more penalties than Manchester United. Well, listen, penalties is going to be a theme, I think, tonight. Penalties is definitely going to be a theme. I'm going to take nothing away from Jamie Vardy, though, because despite getting 2 penalties, the way that he won those penalties, I will save this chat for a bit later when we talk about that game, but the way that he won those penalties, they were penalties, and it was naive defending, in my opinion. Unlike the Dyer and the nonsense handball,
Can we
but it
not
wasn't
mention it
nonsense.
again? I'll get raging again.
Apart from it wasn't nonsense. It was Vardy doing what Vardy does, which is getting his body between the defender and the ball, feeling a touch, and bang, he's down. And by the way, that second goal was absolutely fantastic. Stealth Panda's another super chat. He's saying, Lee, it's confirmed an own goal, Jimenez. Well, look, if it is, guys. I'm past caring, frankly, with this game week. It's been absolutely diabolical.
Cool.
There's our Twitter on the left-hand side, at FPL Family, and you can find us on Instagram as well, at FPL Family over there as well.
I'm sorry,
it is. Yeah, I thought there's enough people in the live chat to suggest that it is. Listen, this week is just it's a savage week. It's a savage week.
That's painful though. Jimenez own goal. Right, can we just mention the fact that Moyes has got COVID and disappeared, and suddenly West Ham have won 2 games on the bounce?
Yeah, without Moyes on the touchline, they're all right, aren't they?
I think Karen Brady's got a point.
She could be right, Karen Brady. She could be right.
Well, just give it to the assistant manager. What's his name? Alan.
I got no.
Leave Alan in charge.
No idea. Absolutely no idea.
Listen,
I'm sure you guys will keep us up to date with any of the goings on in the West Ham versus Wolves game. Let's go and talk about West Brom 3, Chelsea 3. To be honest, we could start anywhere this week. We could actually start anywhere. But I do want to talk about West Brom 3, Chelsea 3. A real, to use a cliche, game of 2 halves. Because West Brom were actually really good. Chelsea were terrible in the first half, weren't they? Mistake after mistake for Chelsea. Yeah. Even Thiago Silva, one of the world's best defenders, undeniably, over the last 2 years, comes in and makes a mistake. Maybe he was complacent, who knows? But what was going on there at Chelsea? Because, all right, they made a good comeback in the second half, but as a Chelsea fan, and if you're a Chelsea fan, Harry and everybody else in the live chat, you can't be happy with a point against West Brom.
So there was a fantastic photograph of the Chelsea players, and it was focused on Thiago Silva. And he was looking at the floor as if to say, what the hell has just happened? And I genuinely think, and I might be wrong, but I think Chelsea went into that game a little bit complacent, because West Brom have not had a great start to the season. Chelsea have been good going forward. They've won, there's been some good movement forward from them. Defensively a bit iffy, but then they're always a bit iffy. And I think they thought that, without Kepa in goal, they'd be a bit more solid. Because actually it's not really been the defence that's been the issue, it's been Kepa. He wasn't playing. I don't think they gave, my opinion, I don't think they gave West Brom enough respect in the first half.
Yeah,
and I think they got a bit done. In the second half, I think they did give them more respect, and therefore they played better as a result of it, because they weren't quite so kind of complacent. I think they got a bit of a rocket from Lampard at half time, and it worked. I don't know about Chelsea. Like, I was in there, if you remember back to pre-season, I was in there. I'm not going Chelsea because I don't really know which one, and I
still don't think we know, do we?
I'm still in this. I don't know what I'm doing with Chelsea. But I think Pulisic is back next week, or due back next week.
Yeah.
Maybe after international break. And I do think Pulisic will make a big difference to that side, because it feels like it's that kind of middle ground where obviously there's defensive issues, but they will get sorted hopefully with this new keeper, I guess. But I think with Pulisic back, it will massively help Chelsea.
What are we saying about Timo Werner then? So 9.4 now, because he's had a 0.1 price drop.
Yeah.
Played on the left, didn't he? Put Tammy Abraham in the middle. He played sort of Timo Werner off the left, which is a position that he's probably, if anything, a bit more used to playing. That's where he used to play, I think, for the majority of his time at Leipzig. So you'd like to think that he would have fit into that role nicely. And I think as Werner owners, I certainly was sitting there saying, well, no problem with him going out left, because I know he's going to cut in and join Tammy in the two. But without Pulisic and Ziyech either side of him, which I think is going to be... I think that is going to be Frank's formation. When all said and done, I think it's going to be Ziyech, Pulisic, Havertz, and then Werner in front of them.
Yes.
And I think when he's got those three in those positions, by the way, and I think Havertz already has looked better centrally than he did wide.
Yeah.
That's when Werner's going to come to the fore. But have we got the patience as Werner owners to wait for that to happen?
Well, I thought he was going to be a better option when I saw Jorginho wasn't on the score sheet, on the team sheet, because in my head I was like, well, that makes Werner the penalty taker. The problem I've got with Werner is actually not really about Werner. It's about the fact that you've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin, you've got Danny Ings on penalties, both cheaper, both returning better, both with arguably nicer fixtures. So why would you want to spend more on Werner when you could have one of those guys? And then you couple that, I know it's not gone well tonight, but Jimenez has been on great form as well. There's so many players, even like Bamford, constant.
There's great value right now.
Constant goals.
Yeah. So Callum Wilson again on the score sheet this week.
Yeah, from nothing, they had no shots, but yet he's on the score sheet. So for me, I'm looking at Werner and thinking, I just don't see...
Just not worth money,
I don't see the value in him at all. So I can understand the massive shift off of him. I really can.
And when Frank gets his act together, and they have got those three fit and firing behind him...
Then it might be different.
You might pick him, or you got the choice then to have a look and say, well, of those four... Probably. Which one do I want to go for?
And I think also by that point Werner will be cheaper because he'll take some price drops. So you'll be able to pick him up a bit cheaper. But I also think that you'll find there's value. Pulisic, I think, offers the best value for money. Maybe Havertz now.
Could be Ziyech, you know.
Maybe Ziyech.
Could be.
But I don't know. I don't think Werner's going to offer the best value for money amongst that team, because I think what we found already is that there are such good options up top that you don't need to spend that level of budget. It's the difficulty I'm having at the moment.
Let's see what you guys are saying. Nice comment there from Fabian Brown. Thank you for the comment. I think Werner might have penalties, to be honest. This is another bit of an unknown around Chelsea. So Jorginho doesn't look as if he's a starting 11 player, Fabian Brown is saying. And you could be right about that.
Well, apparently he's going to go to Arsenal.
Oh, some link to Arsenal, yeah, potentially.
Which may be what explains why he didn't play this week.
If he's on the pitch, then I think Jorginho takes them, because his record up until fairly recently is good. But
I think so.
He's not going to be on the pitch, and therefore who takes him? If it is Werner, then maybe he's worth it.
Pulisic has taken some before, hasn't he?
He has, yes, I think he has.
So there's still a bit of a quandary until we get a penalty in a Chelsea game where those guys are all playing. I don't think we'll know.
Okay, yeah, let's see. Anthony Gary, hey Anthony, saying my biggest issue with Chelsea is last year they went 3 months without back-to-back wins or losses. They're wildly inconsistent, so they go up and down, and I think that was I think you're right about that, and I think that was certainly a consequence of circumstance, wasn't it, for Chelsea last year? They kind of didn't have a lot of consistency in the team. There was a lot of younger players coming in, a lot of the experienced players. Towards the end of the season, there was a lot of tiredness as well, certainly in sort of after the restart. So, and again, they're having to change now coming into this season with a lot of new players. It's difficult for them. But in FPL, I'm feeling like I want to hard avoid Chelsea at the minute, because I'm just not sure who's going to play and where and how. And how they're going to play. I must admit, Werner out looks like a transfer I want to make this week.
And I feel like that. I think if there weren't so many, there are so many goals in the Premier League at the moment, which is like the most stupid statement ever, but there are. So why would you stick with a player that's not scoring them when there's so many others that are cheaper and are?
That's the thing, and you're right. There's other forwards that are cheaper and nailed on penalties and have hit the ground running.
Scoring.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's move on from Chelsea because we have got so much to discuss tonight. Let's go to my possible Werner replacement, which is Danny Ings. An assist for Adams and Danny Ings got and do you know what? So Adams finally gets off the FPL mark. I really enjoyed this game. Because it was not bonkers. It was no VAR. It was no penalties. It was 1-0. Both teams played pretty well, and actually Saints, I thought, defended reasonably well, given the battering they got last week against your lot.
Yeah.
However, I think we sat in this very room and we did a Lee versus Sam price prediction where I had Chris Wood in my price predictions. And as we were filming the video, I was like, I regret this, because I know that Saints will play that high line, and I know they'll be susceptible to pace. Well, Chris Wood ain't got any pace. So I wouldn't say it was easy to defend against Burnley, but I think actually the way that Saints set up was actually fine against Burnley. It just obviously wasn't fine against Son and Kane the previous week.
But yes, I do sort of agree with you. I think you're right in many ways, but I also think that Southampton did this exact same thing last year. And I said it last week. They took an absolute battering, and then on the back of that, they went on a really nice run where Danny Ings constantly scored goals and the defence shored up. And what happened last night? The defence shored up and Danny Ings scored. And you feel like that is what Southampton will do now. They will go back to playing the game. He made the change. He took out Stevens. He played Vestergaard. And they were better. They were better defensively.
By the way, the chat's saying it's 4-0 now to West Ham. It's 4-0 and
What is
Allaire has scored. Allaire has scored.
Right, if
4-0.
Allaire is scoring, what on
Absolutely
earth is going to happen? It's going to be another record, isn't it, for goals this week?
I mean,
It
what
feels
is
like
happening?
it.
What is happening to Wolves? Viral is saying in the chat, what is happening to Wolves? There's so many unexpected results this game week. Honestly, it's so hard to call. I mean, the fact, Chelsea 3-0 down at home to West Brom. Man United squeaking past Brighton.
Luckily.
Man City getting battered at home. Now Wolves losing to an out sorts, we think, West Ham. It's very, very unpredictable.
What on
really
earth's going to happen in the Liverpool-Arsenal game? Because that's
Who knows?
normally high
Who
scoring.
knows?
That
Hopefully
could be
a nice home
anything.
win. But listen, Burnley 0, Southampton 1. I thought Southampton played well enough to get the points in the end, and Ings just does it again.
I must
he
admit,
just does it again.
Going into this game, I was somewhat concerned because I had McCarthy between my sticks, I had Carl Walker-Peters in my defence, and I had Shay Adams up top, and I sat there and I so nearly took a -8 because I didn't want 3 Southampton players, and I watched them and nearly had kittens at the end of the game when I thought they were going to lose their clean sheet, but actually I'm happy to hold them now.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm happy to hold all 3 of them
Yeah,
now.
I think so. They got West Brom up next. Now West Brom have been scoring goals, but
I don't have to play them all, both of them.
no, and I
defensively.
think you would back Saints
Yeah,
in
I've
that
got Ryan
game.
as well.
So holding Chad Adams going into that game feels like a good thing to do. Bringing in Danny Ings, who's already got a price drop, by the way, he's 8.4. So if you're looking for Werner to Ings, in a weird roundabout way, the Werner drop doesn't matter quite so much
No, because you
you kind of get it back, if that's the right phrase, by buying Ings. You're not losing it. Yeah, when you get a price drop at the end of the season, it feels like a 0.5, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
But Werner to Ings doesn't feel like that because you've got that drop already on Ings. But
I
listen,
wonder how quickly Ings will go up this week. Will probably go up before the midweek fixtures.
Quite
That's the
possibly.
problem.
Quite possibly. So there we go. Danny Ings definitely on my radar for next week. Absolute madness at the Amex Stadium. Absolute madness. How many times are Brighton going to hit the woodwork? I mean, Solly March, Trossard. Who else hit the post? I think it was those. I think didn't March and Trossard between them hit the post or the bar 4 or 5 times between them. It was absolutely incredible. The Manchester United goal led a very charmed life.
Very, very charmed.
Very, very charmed life. But listen, Maupay's penalty. That's the one thing I will say is it's all right scoring a Panenka penalty, but you got to go win the game. Do you know what I mean?
It was a good penalty.
It was a good penalty. The confidence of the guy to do that is fair play to him. But then it's his handball at the end of the game that gives them the penalty, that gives Man United the penalty that wins it. Now, don't get me wrong, as a Liverpool fan, I was sitting there cursing because it was Man United. But if that was anybody else, I'd have been wetting myself because you can't do a little Panenka and then get done in the 97th minute for handball. I mean,
I've never known anything like that game. Like honestly, I have never known a game ever where
it was crazy.
The final whistle goes. It goes. The game's over, and suddenly we're back and we've got a penalty. Like baffling to me. And honestly, watched that game and like I said to you before, didn't I? As a Bruno Fernandes owner, I watched that game and the whole way through I was like, I've done the wrong thing here. I could have saved myself £1 million, which could have gone to very good use amongst the rest of my team, and I could have had Rashford, who looked so much better.
Yeah.
And suddenly, I'm in a position by the end of that game where Bruno has got 12 points, and that's it now. Like
we spent all summer, didn't we, saying, well, Bruno Fernandes, he's not worth the 10.5. He's going to regress because he just can't go the whole season getting penalties and just assisting worldies.
Well, he's going to.
He's going to, and he has in game week 3 because here we are in a week where probably. It was pretty anonymous. Man United fans, tell me how you feel about that Bruno Fernandes performance. Get in the live chat, get in the comments and let me know how you think he played. Because for me, I don't think he had a good game.
Well, no, I mean...
But FPL-wise, smashed it because of the assist and the penalty.
I mean, and that assist was never... it was an assist, but it was never an actual assist because that is an individual piece of brilliance from Rashford. He runs the length of the pitch and scores a lovely goal. It just so happens that Bruno passes in the ball like 100 yards down the pitch,
Yeah.
And then the penalty... Well, that is just what it was. And so it's hard now because I'm at a point where this whole weekend I've sat there and gone, well, I might as well just own Kane and Bruno and Ings and be done with it.
Well, there's a nice comment. That's a nice segue into a super chat we've had from Tom Nicolaisen. Thank you, Tom, for the other super chat. He's saying the template is just so screwed up at the minute. Who would your 5 must-haves be? Very, very difficult with only 3 weeks of data to say who are your must-haves. But I hate to say it, it is starting to look like the penalty takers, isn't it? It is starting to look like Ings and Vardy and Bruno. I mean, for Bruno to have a terrible game, and the Man United fans being very honest actually in the live chat, you guys are saying that didn't have a good game, was anonymous, poor from Bruno.
But get 12 points.
But he got the 12 points, so what are you going to moan about? And he's going to do that. He's going to do that. He's going to have games where he's brilliant and gets 20 pointers. He's going to have games where he's rubbish and gets a penalty and gets 8 or 9 points. So from that basis, he's got to be worth the 10.5, isn't he? I don't know. But as you say, Rashford had a very good game. Scored an absolute brilliant goal. Probably the best goal we've had so far this year. Really loved seeing that goal from Rashford. And $1 million cheaper. But not on penalties.
Well,
and I hate to say it now, but every time I'm thinking about my FPL moves, from now on, I'm going to be thinking, is he on penalties?
Well, the thing is, so last season Rashford and Bruno did share the penalties, and we don't know whether that's going to continue this season, do we? Because Manchester United have had one, Bruno's taken it, but we don't yet know whether Rashford's going to, it could be up in the air. And I think if Rashford and Bruno are going to share penalties this year, then in my wild card I would be tempted to go to Rashford instead of Bruno and save that $1 million. But if Rashford's not on penalties, then Bruno's 100% worth the extra $1 million.
Thoughts on Martial at 9.0? A little bit anonymous. Had a difficult game, didn't he? Didn't really get into it, to be honest.
See, Martial's a really difficult one because definitely not ever going to take a penalty, and at that price point up top,
yeah,
you've got all the penalty takers. You've got Vardy, you've got Ings, you've got Jimenez. Surely they're better.
Yeah, and you could even save yourself a few quid and go.
Bamford. Well, Bamford's not on penalties.
Two mentions for Bamford already, but Callum Wilson, players like that, they're all down there. Mitrovic on penalties as well. They're all in the 6 million bracket. So the 3 million, Martial will get goals. Don't worry about that. He will get you goals, but how long can you hold on to him knowing that there's all this other value in that bracket? I totally agree with you. A word on Brighton though. I thought Lamptey was great again. How good is this kid?
I honestly
great,
think,
isn't he, Lamptey?
For me, Brighton are the surprise package of this season. I watched them against Chelsea. They were absolutely brilliant.
Do you think it's a surprise? I don't. I was expecting them to be better this year.
Better, yes, but I'm surprised at how well. I think that their position in the table is not reflective of them this season. They were fantastic against Chelsea, and they thoroughly deserved something against Manchester United. Really, really unlucky, I think, from Brighton. They were really good. Lamptey, the kid is unbelievable.
It's good, isn't he?
He's
he does
such
get
a
forward.
talent.
When we talk about FPL 4.5 defenders,
Perfect.
that is what we're looking for.
Perfect.
Someone that's going to get you clean sheets. And despite what we've seen so far this season, I do think Brighton will be better. They have had a big change in that back line. Right? Ben White's come in. They're changing the system a little bit. They've had a difficult start to the season fixtures-wise. I think that will settle down, and I do think that they will be better defensively. So if you get Lamptey, maybe the odd clean sheet, but the way that kid bombs forward, the way he gets in the penalty box, and he's that quick that he will get penalties, as we saw not just this game week, but in previous game weeks as well. I think he's won a couple of penalties now. And as you've seen from some of the other quicker players in other teams, it only takes a little touch now. You only got to breathe on a player and boom, they're down. It's a penalty.
The other thing is at 4.5, I don't mind if he doesn't keep a clean sheet if he's getting an assist every week.
That's right.
So, it annoys you with Trent if he doesn't keep a clean sheet because you spent 7.5 million on him. But with the likes of Lamptey and Kyle Walker-Peters, if they get an assist but don't keep a clean sheet, that's fine.
Who else from Brighton catching your eye? Trossard caught my eye.
Trossard was great. Solly March played really well. Both a bit wasteful, but equally the fact that they were
just unlucky. I think.
Well, and the fact that they were in the right places and doing all the right things bodes really well. And I think you can't overlook Maupay as well because he's on penalties.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, again, we're talking about penalties again. I don't want this to sound like a broken record, but Maupay...
that was the name of the stream.
Suddenly looks like a good option, doesn't he? But Trossard, I thought in those central areas, picking up, just finding pockets of space. There's very few players in the Premier League that can pick up balls in those central areas and find that space they get the ball and you look at them and they go, where's the defenders? And it's because of the intelligence of the player. Yeah. Now, you're right, Solly March did do well. I mean, I think he gave Wan-Bissaka a torrid time down that touchline, didn't he? He was cutting in, smacking it against the woodwork every 5 minutes. But Trossard in particular caught my eye. I'm not going to transfer him in yet because he's not on penalties. But at the same time, he's on my radar. He's on my radar. So Brighton, Let's have a look at the Brighton fixtures going forward. Have a look at these because I want to know whether Matty Ryan is a goalkeeper that I need to keep the faith in. Let me see. Brighton, Everton away next, which is obviously difficult. Then Crystal Palace away. So the next two against informed sides, so it is looking difficult. Then West Brom at home, Spurs away, Brighton at home, Burnley at home in game week 8. So the fixtures mixed to say the least.
Because you
for Brighton.
only have
Mixed.
Matt Ryan, don't you?
I only have Matt Ryan. Yeah, I only have Matt Ryan. But listen, could you invest in someone like Morpie and save yourself an absolute ton of money and reinvest? Yeah, you could do that. It's a viable strategy now. It's a viable strategy. Another game that I enjoyed this weekend, Crystal Palace 1, Everton 2, which I'm afraid to say, guys, again, ruined really by the Joe Ward handball. A game that I was thoroughly enjoying. Two teams that are banging form.
Really
Everton,
good.
top of the league now, right? Started like a house on fire. And Crystal Palace didn't make it easy for them. They looked really good against Crystal Palace. And again, Koyate with the header. Not going to see too many of those, I don't think, this season, but you never know. The delivery from corners is very good. But again, Calvert-Lewin gets on the score sheet. Now, here's a player who we know is not on penalties because we think Richarlison is on them after this weekend. What are we saying about Calvert-Lewin?
He's the one person, I think, that's not on penalties that I think is pretty much essential.
Yeah, we're all sitting here, we talk so much about penalties and all the FPL assets that are doing well, the Vardys, etc. They're all only doing well because of penalties. Well, this guy's not. Banging them in.
Okay, so a question for you then, because I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin he's the one player that I look around the Premier League at the moment and go, he is the one player that I really wish I owned, but I don't. But you own James Rodriguez.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult. Because I watched that game and I slowly but surely found myself having a bit of a problem with James Rodriguez. And the problem was that he's a quality player. He's an absolute quality player, and I think he brings class and quality to that Everton midfield.
And confidence.
And confidence in a way that no player has in that Everton midfield for a long time. But, in FPL, he's assisting the assist.
Yeah, you described him as a Modric, didn't you, earlier?
He's a Modric, isn't he? Even on that first goal, I mean, the ball he puts in for Coleman to get in behind is absolutely delicious, but what do you get in FPL for that? Naff all.
Yeah.
And that's my problem with him at the minute. Now, don't get me wrong, I was happy to bring him in last week because he got me the 12 points. But even the 12-pointer, obviously looked at that game afterwards and I thought, okay, he's played really well, but he scored with a shot outside the box. He's capable of that.
Yeah.
He's capable of that. So I'm not panicking because it's not a player that has never scored from outside the box on his left foot and suddenly he pings one. He's got that in his locker, James.
Yeah.
However, if you look at his heat maps, he doesn't get in the box a lot.
No.
Whereas Calvert-Lewin is scoring, he's in the 6-yard box.
He's everywhere.
He is like a poacher. He's just in there the whole time. Richarlison's a bit of a mix of the two. So, do I have a problem with James Rodriguez? I don't think I do. And given that the fixtures don't look too bad, they've got Brighton at home, then it's the Merseyside derby where anything can happen. There'll be VAR controversy there for sure. So the next two are at home for Everton. Then it's Southampton and Newcastle away before they entertain Manchester United in game week 8. So the fixtures look okay. I mean, the Liverpool-Man United games on paper look difficult, but they've got... Everton have started well enough to be able to score against all those teams. But
yeah.
I think your question was, would I get DCL
given
that I've got Rodriguez? Would I get both?
Well, yes, would you get both? But also, if you had that moment again when you brought in James Rodriguez, would you instead... Because I think there'll be a lot of people that are looking at that going, where do I get... Because it's hard to own multiple of the same team because there's so many goals, like particularly on that up front and midfield positions, because there's so many goals being scored at the moment across all of the teams that you kind of want to invest across rather than focused on one team. I mean, I'm not saying there would be anything wrong with owning all three of the Everton guys at the moment, but for me as a non-Everton owner, still...
That's got to change, right? That's got to change.
Well, yeah, somehow. As a non-Everton owner, I'm looking at it thinking, well, my go-to would be Dominic Calvert-Lewin, but would you be happy to own both, or would you think you need to get rid of Rodriguez in order to own Calvert-Lewin?
With the fixtures that we've just described, it would feel a little bit uncomfortable having both, to be honest with you. But I'm starting to feel like Dominic Calvert-Lewin is the Ings of last season. Now, a big mistake that I made last season was I did not get Danny Ings until near the end, and it was too late. If I do the same with DCL, I've only got myself to blame, frankly. Yeah. My problem is that I really like Rodriguez. He's just a really nice player.
To watch, isn't he?
So it's like, really nice player. I like watching him, but again, he feels like a Modric or an Eriksen, right? He's a really nice player to watch, but FPL, maybe he's no good. I don't know. Now listen, had a cracking game week 2.
See what happens.
ran the game, didn't get anything in game week 3, but Everton still look good, and he's the heart of it. So I'm not in the mood to sell him.
Yeah.
I'm not in the mood to sell him, I don't think. So I'm going to keep him for now. From a Palace perspective, so Townsend with another assist looked good. Eze again looked good, but again, Zaha, all right, no points this week for Zaha, but Crystal Palace look okay. And if you look at the fixtures, certainly they've got Chelsea away next, which, given how Chelsea are defending right now, might not be such a bad game. But from game week 5, Sam, listen to this. Palace against Brighton at home, then Fulham, then Wolves, then Leeds. So the Palace fixtures, the in-form, despite the defeat against Everton, in-form Crystal Palace from game week 5 look very investable to me. And I hate to say it, I'm sort of leaning towards Zaha on the penalties again. How are you feeling about Palace?
I'm not feeling about Zaha, that's for sure.
You hate Zaha, do you?
I don't. No, I don't. I think he's a good. I just think that from an FPL perspective, I just think he's a troll. I don't think he's a bad player. I like him as a player. I enjoy watching him, but there's no consistency with Zaha. That's my issue. So you can watch him one week, he can be absolutely fantastic, and then you watch him again like less than a week later, and it's like night and day.
Yeah.
And that's what frustrates me as an FPL manager about Zaha, and it's why I sometimes get drawn in and I do it, and then I instantly regret it because I'm like, oh.
Anybody else from Palace then if you're not feeling Zaha?
Well, I own Ferguson. Please God, let Ferguson be fit after game week 5.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Like, come on now. I thought it was going to be game week 3. Where are you? Like, you better be there after the international break.
Ferguson. I know you like Eze. You've talked about him a little bit, but hasn't got off the FPL mark yet, though. Is that a problem?
No, I don't think so. I think it's he does all the right things.
Yeah. But so does Townsend, and he's getting FPL points.
Yeah, but
I know what you're thinking. You're thinking the same as me. Eze's he's the new shiny player. He's the sexier pick.
It's a bit unsexy, isn't it?
I know, but it's
really unsexy owning Townsend. I don't want to own Townsend.
Sorry, Andros, if you're listening. Paul, let's see. Oh, goodness me, Paul. Paul O, let's call him in the live chat, is saying neither Zaha nor Townsend. He doesn't fancy Crystal Palace at all there. Bossman525 is saying Tarek Mitchell. Yes, absolutely.
But PVA.
But PVA must be coming back at some stage. Must be coming back. Optimus Premier is saying Ferguson has a knee injury. It'll be ages before he comes back.
No, he's not. He's due back. He was due back around now. So
could be Josh. Hey, Josh, he's saying he loves Eze too. Something about Eze that I like.
I do too.
I get the feeling once he breaks his FPL duck, he might go on a bit of a run. I think. Let's see. Eyes on him. Come on then. Let's do it. Spurs 1, Newcastle 1. Now, I don't want to talk too much about the handball. We spoke about it at the beginning. I'm going to just... This might upset you. You should have killed this game off, Spurs. You should have killed this game off. At half-time, Spurs could have been 4-0 up without any trouble, and you've given Newcastle an opportunity to get back into it. What was your thoughts on the game?
I have nothing to say. I'd rather give my money to charity.
Rather give my money to charity than say anything against the Premier League and its rules. Yes.
What do I think about that game? I thought we were...
For the first time in a long time, I actually like that Jose quote. I'm not Jose's biggest fan, as you know, but that quote did get me. I like that.
Okay, my views on... the first half, I thought we were utterly fantastic. Apart from not finishing off chances. Like, we hit the... Son hit the post, he hit the crossbar. Kane missed one by about that. Like, it was constant. The keeper made some great saves.
Darlow had a great
12
game,
or something.
Unbelievable game.
I think there were 23 shots.
34 he got in the BPS.
Yeah, we had 24 shots on goal during that game. We were fantastic. Apart from the keeper played really well, we were unlucky with some chances, and we were just a bit wasteful with others. And yes, you're right. We should have killed off the game, but the reality is the game was dead. It was a dead game. It was over. Newcastle had nothing. They really, really, really miss St Maximin. They just need that speed through the transition, and without him, there was just nothing.
A bit lethargic, wasn't it?
It was. Andy Carroll made a difference when he came on, just because he's a bully and he holds the ball up well, and there was a bit of a target guy to get it to.
When you're not playing through the lines and the transitions like they are, you can only really do one thing. You can either slowly play through and just try and knock at the door, or you go long.
Yeah.
And you ain't going to go long to Callum Wilson. That's why Carroll made the difference.
And he made a difference when he came on. But what frustrates me is that, apart from not finishing off some chances, we did everything right in that game. Eric Dyer, God bless him, is looking not only the other way, but like not even the ball's behind him. It's impossible for him to see the ball. It's impossible for him to get his arm out of the way. He's landing a jump. You show me a player who lands a jump without some movement of their arms.
But from an FPL perspective, Spurs have got Man U next, then West Ham at home, Burnley, Brighton and West Brom. The fixtures look all right. So Harry Kane's a hold. Is Son a hold now, or is he a sell? Given that the hamstring doesn't look that great for Heung-min Son. We saw some comments, I think, from Jose to a reporter post-game. I don't know whether he saw them on Sky. I don't think we did. I think we saw them on Twitter.
On Sky he said it was fine, it was tactical. That's what he said. He said we all have to sit out some matches because it's 4 games in 7 days.
Yeah.
And then suddenly he's got a hamstring problem. So
well, keep an eye.
Keep an eye on it.
It sounds like he's injured.
It doesn't sound great, but equally, I'm not too. I mean, I'm always concerned, of course, if Son's out. But I think from a Spurs point of view, if you own the other Spurs assets, it might not be a bad thing. It might actually be a good thing for Lucas Moura.
Well, it could be, and as Josh Oram is saying, it could speed Bale's arrival into
Come on,
the team.
Gareth. He was there today. Did you see him?
Quicker.
Did you see his cheeky little smile?
He looked like he was enjoying himself off of the golf course for the first time in a long time.
I was enjoying myself
Super
too.
chat from Anthony. Gary, thank you, Anthony, for the super chat. Calvert-Lewin is different from Ings last year because Ings just needs one chance, whereas DCL, the reason his FPL points are going up is predicated on the fact that he's surrounded by better quality, which I think is an absolutely valid point.
Yeah, that
so
is
my
true.
comment about is he the new Ings for this year, I think was more of a market value comment rather than the way that they play. But it's a fair point there, Anthony. I think you're spot on. DCL is a lot better from an FPL perspective.
He will get more opportunities
because of
as well.
the people that are around him.
He'll get more opportunities as well because he's got James Rodriguez. Not because of Richarlison.
Absolutely. So anything else you want to say about Newcastle in that game? I actually think they didn't offer anything, to be honest with you, Newcastle, up until the last minute. And even Steve Bruce, very honestly, came out after the post-match.
I've got a lot of respect for Steve Bruce.
He came out and he was just like, we got away with it. And they did. And fair play to him for saying it.
I've got a lot of respect for Steve Bruce today because he came out without slagging anybody off and was brutally honest. And I really like that. I think for me as a Lascelles owner, it's not ideal, but equally, no one's keeping clean sheets anyway, so who cares? I just feel like with Newcastle, they have some really good players there, but without St Max, I just don't think they tick.
Okay, well, but back-to-back home games for Newcastle next against Burnley and Man United, Wolves away, and then they host in-form Everton. So again, mixed for Newcastle from that perspective. Not really looking investable from my view. However, Callum Wilson maybe.
The good thing from Newcastle's point of view is they won't have a huge amount going out on international break. So they will get a week off after the next round of fixtures. So that might benefit them.
Okay. Efan Johnson is saying, what do you think about Doherty out, Sam? The Spurs defence is just annoying to own, he says. So what are we saying about Doherty?
It is annoying to own, but then equally, Doherty could have had and should have had a clean sheet, and he could have easily had at least 2 assists today. So on a different day, he could have had a 20-pointer today.
With those fixtures that we mentioned before, I think he'd be a hold.
Believe me, I am just as frustrated as you because I own Eric Dyer, who also could have got a clean sheet and nearly scored today.
Okay.
So I'm holding him because I think the fixtures suggest that there could be some clean sheets coming.
All right, very good. Let's move to another incredible. Every game was incredible, wasn't it? Every game was incredible. Man City 2.
Bonkers.
Leicester 5. Absolutely bonkers
5?
game.
Who goes to Man City and scores 5?
Well, no one, frankly. But from the minute that left Mahrez's boot in the 4th or 5th minute, which was a fantastic on his week of foot, by the way, guys. I thought, here we go again. I thought this is going to be another high-scoring game. And we see it. In actual fact, it was only the Burnley-Southampton game that I've got that wrong. Because Ings scored early. I thought, here we go again. But actually, they both tightened up and Southampton squeaked it 1-0. But when Mahrez scored that, I did think, here we go, this is going to be a big score. I did think it might be 5-2, but the other way around. I have to tell you, I didn't think Leicester would come back and score 5 goals. But listen, I mean, 3 goals for Vardy, 1 for Tielemans, even Maddison now back on the radar potentially with a goal and assist coming on. There's just too many FPL assets to choose from.
The point I have with Vardy is that I have yet to see Vardy have a really good game. Like, I've seen him score massive points hauls twice. Because of 2 penalties in the first game and 2 penalties in this. Now, the goal was great.
Yeah.
But the penalties, it's penalties all the time. And so I'm watching him and he's not really passing the eye test, but yet equally, you can't overlook the fact that he's scoring a ridiculous number of points. So it's...
Leicester are going to get penalties, though.
Yes, they are.
In the same way that Manchester United are going to get penalties, because they've got intelligent players.
Yeah.
Both those sides have got intelligent players, and I think Liverpool will be the same as well once we get going.
Yeah.
Because they've got players that will just get their body between the defender and the ball.
Yeah.
For both the Vardy's penalties today, for all of the nonsense we've had over the last couple of weeks, they were both penalties.
Yeah, they were.
On Vardy.
Yeah.
They were both penalties. And actually, Kyle Walker, don't know what he's doing, of a defender of his experience, pulling him back like that. As soon as you put a hand on him, he's going to go down. It's going to be a penalty.
Yeah.
And on the second one, all he's done is get his body between himself and Mendy. And Mendy, all right, it's the faintest of clips, but it doesn't matter now. It doesn't matter.
No,
it's a penalty.
And I think you're right. And I think it's although I'm not watching like when Vardy went through that purple patch last season, they were playing such nice football, and every week it was exciting to watch him, and I was really pleased to own him. This season I feel like I'm heading towards owning Vardy, and I'm just going to be waiting for him to get a penalty every week.
Well, this is what Efan Johnson is saying. Vardy's not just a penalty taker, he actually draws the foul. That's the point I'm making, I think.
Yeah.
He gets the foul.
He wins it. Yeah.
And at Manchester United, Rashford, Martial, and who's the young lad, Greenwood, they get the foul.
Yeah, they do.
So Bruno's going to get the penalties. Same at Leicester. Harvey Barnes gets in those areas. Castagna gets in those areas, was bombing forward today.
Yeah.
James Justin, as we've seen, gets in those areas. Even the likes of Maddison comes on, gets in those areas. And Vardy does it better than anybody. Ings does it well, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't disagree with anything you just said. I think Man City look like they've got some issues, though. I think the injury to Aguero, Jesus on top of that. I mean, there's so many problems in that squad at the moment in terms of they've just got no one left. They're at the bare bones.
If you brought in Sterling on your wild card, you'd be very worried about that today, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and so if I'd have wild carded this week, I'd have had KDB and Sterling. 100% I would have. As soon as that Jesus news broke, I'd have gone, right, double City midfield, because Sterling's going to play up top. I didn't see anything from Sterling today. At least with KDB, there's always the potential for a free kick. Yeah, I was going to say a free kick, but yes, a penalty. There's potential for a bit of magic from KDB, whereas from Sterling, I kind of feel like he needs the rest of the team to be playing well to have the momentum with him. I don't see him kind of
streaky, isn't he?
He's not the kind of I'm going to drag the team with me. KDB's are like, come on, we're going, we're doing this. Yeah. Sterling, I just don't feel like he is that player. If I own both of them now, who's their next fixture? Who they got next?
Man City coming up is Leeds, of course. And I tell you what, that suddenly is a very interesting game for me, because
if they defend like that,
you know what you're going to get from Leeds. We saw it against Liverpool game week 1. High intensity, high pressing. They will put City under pressure. That will not be an easy game for Man City.
No.
They can score goals, of course they can. Because Leeds are leaking them left, right and centre with that single pivot, aren't they?
Yeah.
But Leeds can score in that game as well. It's going to be very, very interesting, that. That's going to be another 4-4 or something ridiculous, isn't it? It just is. It just is. I can just see it being goals. I agree with you on the Man City front. The Mahrez goal was absolutely unbelievable. But there was something missing. Their mojo had gone a little bit. And I don't know whether it was big. Obviously, the lack of a number 9 definitely is a concern. I don't know whether they've had a bit of coronavirus in the camp, haven't they? And maybe...
There's a bit of match fitness problems, I think.
There's a bit of match fitness. There's a lot of injuries, etc.
I think they missed David Silva, is my honest view. I think they missed that leadership.
Yeah, you could be right. There's something there.
I think David Silva going, you don't necessarily think it from a playing point of view, because there's so many other talented players at Man City. But I think David Silva's leadership and the way that he was in that dressing room, it leaves a void when a player like that leaves.
A lot of the guys in the live chat, and I noticed a few people on Twitter get sort of this rhetoric knocking about, was this: they haven't really ever replaced Kompany from a leadership perspective. And bringing in Ake, I know that Ake was Bournemouth captain for a bit, wasn't he? I think. But he's not really I don't see him as a vocal leader. Now, you don't have to be vocal to be a leader. I get that. But he's not a Kompany, is he?
You need a presence. Yeah. If you're going to be... You need players with presence on the field. And that's why part of the reason why I got so emotional last week about Gareth Bale being back, because he's that. He's that figure for us. And David Silva, I believe, was that for Man City. He's that not necessarily really loud gobby one, but just him being there was enough to spur on the rest of the team around him. KDB is a leader, but they lack it across the rest of that team, is my opinion.
All right. Thoughts on Foden? Not really in the game today, a bit sort of on the periphery. At 6'5", I think you can forgive him that, can't you?
You can.
You hold him for Leeds, or is he a sell now?
Well, no, you have to hold them, because they've got no one out. Like, they've got so few players at the moment that I think the likes of Foden and Mahrez are going to play most weeks until we get some recovery from, you know, the guys that have got to come back from COVID. You've got, you've got Aguero and Jesus out. So you just got to think that these players are going to play.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, I was watching that game today. I'll tell you what, there's only one team I wanted to invest in at the end. And it wasn't Man City. Let's see what else. With West Ham Wolves, we haven't really watched the second half, and I don't even want to go there if it's a Jimenez own goal, which it looks like it is.
What is the score now?
I think it finished 4-0. I'm pretty sure the guys will tell us if that's wrong. I think that's pretty much all the games. Sheffield United 0, Leeds 1. Again, a game that I enjoyed, actually. I enjoyed because it wasn't full of nonsense like a lot of the others. Very, very quickly, thoughts on Patrick Bamford then? You mentioned him a couple of times tonight already.
3-3.
Not penalties, but listen.
That doesn't matter.
3
if you get 3-3.
First time a Leeds player, as far as I'm aware, has done that in 16 years in the top flight.
Look, if you're going to come
Absolute
into the Premier League and score 3-3, when those 3 games include a trip to Liverpool.
Yeah.
I know Sheffield United aren't the same defensively this season, but Sheffield United, who were really good last season, who did they play last week? Or Fulham. If you're gonna be able to score in each of those, there is no reason why Bamford can't score goals. The only thing that puts me off Bamford, these not penalties.
Yeah. Do you know what I like about Leeds so far this season is they're not afraid to have a go.
No, they're ballsy.
And we've seen that.
I like that.
If they think that they can press you and put you under pressure,
they will.
like with Liverpool, it's like a bit of a free hit, wasn't it? It's just Bielsa was just like, no one ever puts Liverpool under pressure at Anfield, so I'm going to do it and see what happens. And they nearly got away with it. And against Fulham, they obviously backed themselves to be the better side and be more energetic, and they got the win, but they got the win. But they go away to Sheffield United, a team where they probably need to be a bit more patient and work through the lines a bit. And they do it, and they get the result 1-0, and they get a clean sheet. Listen, Bielsa, for me, very impressed, because he has already proved, as if we needed to be told, because we didn't, but he's already proving that tactically they can adapt their style to the opposition, and that is a key skill that is going to see Leeds, I think, very, very high up the table come the end of the season. I think they'll do absolutely fine.
I'm very impressed.
They've got games coming up against Man City and Wolves at home, which will be an acid test, no doubt about it.
Whilst Man City don't look that solid defensively.
Absolutely. Then it's Villa and Leicester and Palace. Not backing them to keep too many clean sheets, so I'm still, don't think, looking at the Dallas and Ayling thing. I don't think, although obviously got the clean sheet this week, so if you did have them, well done. I still think I'd be looking at the Harrisons and the Phillips and the Bamfords, I think.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm impressed with them. Very, very impressed.
I think, and Klitsch, all those guys up front, and Klitsch obviously because of the penalty thing, but Bamford in particular has really impressed me. Been really impressed with him.
On the other hand, though, Sheffield United 3 defeats now on the spin for Wilder's boys. Is it second season syndrome a little bit for Sheffield United?
Well, I think in part yes, but I also I genuinely, and I know I sound like a broken record on this, but the games where Henderson didn't play for Sheffield United last season, they were terrible defensively.
It can't just be him. It can't just be him.
Lee, they were terrible defensively. They were. Now, they kind of got away with it because they sort of had some attacking players last year. This year, they can't attack. There's nobody up top. They desperately, desperately need to sign a striker to take off the pressure of the defence. The defence is just getting pummeled week after week after week, and there's no outball. So they've got nothing going forward. So the keeper situation is bad, and Ramsdale is never going to replace Henderson. But they need a striker badly, or they're going to go down.
All right, well, listen, I don't think it's not going to get any easier for Sheffield United. Arsenal, then Fulham, Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea in the next 5. So I ain't going anywhere near those guys.
They need to hurry up and get Brewster in.
Well, unless they can get a win against Fulham in game week 5, or pick up points somewhere else amongst those other big hitters, come game week 8, they've already lost 3 times. They're going to be sitting very much near the trapdoor of the Premier League, aren't they, Sheffield United? Which is a shame, because I thought they were fantastic when they came into the league last year.
I really like them.
Listen, let's see. Those are the games, Sam. Those are the games. Let's go over to the OBS here and have a look at our scores. Now, I need to pull the Band-Aid off here and just get this over with, because, guys, it's been an absolute shocker of a game week for me. An absolute shocker. My overall rank at the end of last week was 1.6. I'm down to 3.1. Now, I know what you're all going to say. It's early days. Don't look at your overall rank. I can't help it. I can't help but look at my overall rank and think, that is a shocker. 18 points this game week. Now, obviously, the Souček goal would have changed that.
Will he still get an assist?
He'll get an assist, but that will be cancelled out by the Jimenez own goal. So Jimenez, I guess, finished on 0 or -1. So, listen, I feel really aggrieved by that, because the Souček assist, a Souček goal, and possible bonus points would have dug me out of a hole, really, to be honest.
Jimenez finished on noughts. It's not that bad. It's not minuses.
And Souček finished on...
And Souček finished on...
I guess with an assist and a clean sheet bonus, maybe 6. Okay, all right. Well, listen, that's something, isn't it? It's something. So what have I got left? I've got Trent and Salah to go. Podence obviously didn't play, so I've got Keenan Davis.
Come on, Keenan Davis, have I?
Come on, Keenan Davis.
Also, we should say you took a -4.
Thank you. Yes, we should also say I took a -4 to bring in Daniel Podence. Listen, the Wolves fixtures look good. I bought him in for a reason. They've got Fulham and Leeds next and then Newcastle, so I'm not about to take him out. I think it's just a little knock. But yeah, it's bad, guys. It's bad. I'm not gonna hide away from it. Sometimes I have good game weeks and I'll happily tell you, and sometimes it ain't good, and this is not a good one at all. 18 points. Souček got 6. There's going to be 5 more. So what is that going to be? That is going to be 23 minus the 1 for Jimenez, so it's going to be 22, and I've got 2 to play with Keenan Davis, free to play, 22 with free to play, which is absolutely shocking, and I don't want to talk any more about it. Do you know what? At the beginning of the week, at the beginning of the game week, I looked at it and I went, do you know what? That'd be alright. That.
What's really
interesting? That'd be alright. That.
What's really interesting about how this week's panned out is that Lee was, and I don't think you mind me saying this, you were much more confident in your team going into this week than I was. I was genuinely looking at my team. And before the deadline on Saturday morning, I heard this whisper about Podence, and I said to Leela, I am dead in the water this week. I've got no bench. I've got 3 Southampton players. I just felt like I had a real nightmare. No Everton. And yet, my game week's actually gone all right. And yours, who on paper, yours looks so much better than mine.
It was just
it's
a weird...
a frustrating week.
It's just a weird game week. Because again, I'm looking at my... where do I think my team have let themselves down?
They haven't really. They're still a good team.
Wolves going to West Ham and losing 4-0, and my main player from Wolves getting an own goal to cancel out my West Ham player is about as unlucky as it gets in FPL. I mean, you can talk about stats and, whatever all week, but that's pretty unlucky. My Chelsea boys have let me down, no doubt about it. Werner and James with only 3 points between them, that was a big letdown. Obviously, the De Bruyne captain didn't work out. 7 goals at the game.
You know what's going to happen tomorrow, don't you?
And you're thinking, well...
You know Aubameyang's going to net.
Aubameyang's going to net. Yeah, you're right. But with Kevin De Bruyne, 7 goals in a game that he's involved in and he gets nothing out of it is absolutely incredible. Rodriguez, I think I can let that go. Right, I let that. Everton were at Crystal Palace. That was always going to be a difficult game, and he got me 12 points last week. So he's... I'll forgive him the 2-pointer, but it's the Chelsea boys that have let me down. It's the captaincy's let me down, and then the Souček Jimenez thing is just the icing on an already very bitterly tasting cake. I've just got to hope that Trent and Salah can pull something out for me tomorrow night against Arsenal. Of course. And Keenan Davis can score a hat-trick in the 20 minutes that he's on the pitch, off the bench against Fulham, which would be incredible if he does that. But anyway, 18 points or 22, whatever it is, absolutely awful, guys. 3.1 rank, we go again. Your team looking infinitely better, actually. So 42 points, which actually in a game week where there's people like me sitting in the teens, I think is a hugely respectable score. And of course, you've still got Trent and Salah and the mighty Keenan Davis to come off the bench. So talk me through it. Not a bad game week in the end.
No, my Southampton boys do me absolutely proud. I'm really pleased with them.
6 and 5 for Saints is an absolute touch.
Yeah, thank you, Southampton. I owe you. Eric Dyer losing his clean sheet in the last minute, really annoying.
Yeah, unlucky.
Because at that point, I had gone up. I had a green arrow of 1.7 million places, which is quite frankly ridiculous. But yeah, he lost his clean sheet is what it is.
Nice slice of luck with Fernandes, though. For every bit of luck against Dyer, you get the Bruno Fernandes points. It swings him roundabout.
Yeah, I mean, Bruno Fernandes is what it is. Podence, again, that was a -4, so that's annoying. Kane with the assist. Shea Adams with the assist. So everyone else kind of doing me fine. Podence is annoying, but equally I still like him, and I still think I want him for next week. So I'm not... Yeah. As long as it doesn't...
Listen, they've just played a game without him and lost 4-0. So surely he comes straight back in.
Well, I think so, and I think also, as long as he's fit, he's going to play next week. So I can quite happily hold him. I'm looking at my team thinking I might not make a transfer next week. I might just leave it. I just might leave it. I can't be... I can't be dealing with these early moves. I know I need some Everton players, but I need 2 transfers to make an Everton player work. I can't just go to one. So I'm probably just gonna roll it. But I think
that's a good week. 42 is a good week. The guys in the live chat saying, it's the game, the most under the radar game with all the nonsense that was going on this week. Burnley 0, Southampton 1. No one's really paying much attention on that. Yet you got 17 points out of that game, which is just more than I had in my old team. So it's like that's the game that's got you through this game week.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday I had 4 players playing, all 4 of them returned, and I thought I was going to get through to the end of the Spurs game and have 6 out of 7 return.
As well, yeah.
But it didn't quite go that way in the end. But actually, I still look at that. Kevin De Bruyne is a massive letdown, but I still want to own Kevin. My team feels better with Kevin De Bruyne in it, so I wouldn't change that transfer even if Aubameyang nets tomorrow. I still would rather have had Kevin in that Leicester game than I would Aubameyang in the Liverpool game. I still believe that's the right thing for me anyway, for my team.
We'll get a reaction from City. I mean, they're playing Leeds,
and he's on penalties, so you know.
For everything I love about Leeds, and I've been very impressed with them so far. They are leaky. They all let goals in, and City will get goals against that Leeds side. They'll probably concede as well, Man City. And on the basis of today, I don't think I'm looking at the Man City defence at all.
I mean, I was,
frankly, but
to be quite honest, going into game week 3, I've so nearly wildcarded. And I woke up...
you didn't though, right?
Oh, yeah. And I woke up Saturday morning with the Podence news going around in my head, and I was like, it's fine, I'll just wildcard this week. I'll wildcard for game week 4, I'll take the hit, and it'll be done. And now I look at my team, and I think, well, I still think you're all right. I still think your fixtures are all right. I still think there's players I want, I haven't got.
Yeah.
But I think if I can get away with a role transfer this week, then maybe... actually going into international break, I'm in a nice place where I've got 2 transfers. I could take a little mini wild card. I can get some Everton players. I can spend some time thinking about who I actually want and who my problem areas are and deal with them then.
Yeah, all right. So you're thinking of rolling the transfer. I'm absolutely considering Werner out, which seems weird. They've got Crystal Palace and Southampton back-to-back home games next. So I could be talked out of that, to be honest with you. But Danny Ings up against West Brom next looks very captainable, I have to tell you. Yeah. Especially with Jimenez, my other forward. He's going to stay, despite the nonsense that happened this evening. Home to Fulham. I'm not going to about to take him out. So I've got a couple of, I want to call them differential. Who else? We've got Liverpool against Villa. So could you go Salah? Of course you could.
At
Kevin
home?
De Bruyne. No, it's at Villa Park. You've got City going to Ellen Road. So
Man U and Spurs.
Okay, Man U and Spurs is a difficult one to pick a captain. So maybe Ings captain against West Brom. Maybe... You know, one thing is for damn sure, Sam. I'm pretty sure that every game week I'm going to captain a penalty taker.
Yeah, I'm probably going to captain Kevin again next week.
Yeah, I mean my team's going to be full of them in a couple of weeks anyway, so it's going to be very difficult to pick a non-penalty taking captain. But I can't ever. If I had Dominic Calvert-Lewin, for example, I would never have him as captain over a Salah, a De Bruyne, or an Ings, or anybody else that takes a penalty.
Not while this stupid rule's on.
Penalties all day long.
They're not meeting till March either, didn't they say on Sky earlier? They're not meeting to discuss this rule till March.
Well, it's a whole nother. We could do a whole nother podcast about it. In fact, it's not a bad idea for a podcast to do the whole penalties thing. Maybe an Ohana coming your way, patrons, and that's a nice segue into just a quick shout out to our new patrons. We've had a few this week, so thank you guys for joining us. Obviously, the Manager of the Month is closed now for September, so we'll be tallying up the scores after the Liverpool game and after the other games that are tomorrow. And we'll be announcing on the Slack and on Twitter and on Patreon who has won our first September Manager of the Month, guys. So listen out for that. And then we'll obviously be getting into October. So if you want to join our October Manager of the Month competition, then head over to patreon.com/FPL family anytime between now and the beginning of October, and you can take part in our October Manager of the Month competition. Very, very competitive. I know that Hanno Dorfling...
we weren't competitive.
I don't think... Well, you might be alright, but I definitely am not in the game. I'm not in the game, but Hanno Dorfling was absolutely leading the way for the September Manager of the Month. So let's see if anybody could beat Hanno in September. But if you want to come and take part in the October competition, as well as get all that other stuff like bonus podcasts and Slack access... If you want to go and check us out at the Zoom tier as well and have one-to-one sessions with us via Zoom to talk about your FPL teams, then you'd be very welcome to go check us out over on patreon.com/FPL family. All right, quick shout out to our social channels. As usual, you can find us absolutely anywhere. You get your podcasts, etc. Got a busy week this week. FPL show going on Thursday. I'm going to be on the podcast on Thursday, which is going out Thursday night / Friday as well. So if you want to hear more of my tales of woe, guys, from game week 3, and my 18-pointer, which I'm absolutely sure James Richardson is going to rinse me for on Thursday, which I'm very much looking forward to. then you can check us out on the FPL show on Thursday, and we shall see you then.
We'll also be Sam versus Lee this week, of course, where I will rinse Lee for picking Chris Wood.
The Sam versus Lee ain't going well either, guys, to be honest with you. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be 3-0 down, but look out on the Fantasy Football Scout channel for that video as well in the not too distant future. Until next time, guys, if you got anywhere in the 30s or 40s this game week, well done. It's been an absolutely ridiculous couple of weeks, and I'm not sure it's going to slow down. That's my challenge.
It'll be 4-4 tomorrow with Liverpool.
I think it's going to be even more bonkers tomorrow, and then I think the following game week is going to be just as mad with
Keenan
fixtures
Davis
like
hat-trick.
Man City versus Leeds and Man U versus Tottenham with the Jose thing. It's just going to be... It's going to go from madness to madness to madness.
I've
I just
try not
cannot
to hit any more
see.
doors.
I cannot see it slowing down. You definitely shouldn't be slapping any more doors, and I definitely need to go and have a look at my wild card. All right, guys. See you next week.
Bye,
Cheers.
guys.